Welcome aboard, all you wonderful groomers, pet stylists, and canine cosmetologists. You found the Traveling Groomers Podcast, where we discuss lessons learned from mobile and house call grooming. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Bear Anthony. Any moment now, we'll be joined by my co-host and friend, retired mobile groomer and educator extraordinaire, Mary Oquendo, and very likely a special guest to help us chat about all things grooming, grooming industry related, and just plain fun digressions that I will totally wrangle back to topic. Grab those travel mugs and climb aboard to see where today's topic will bring us. Let's roll!
Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Traveling Groomers Podcast. We have a guest today.
Yes,
Hi,
we
River.
do.
Hey, everyone. Always happy to be here.
River's one of our favorite guests, so we're going to have a lot of fun with this particular episode.
But before we have too much fun, I'm going to jump right in and say, welcome, lovely listeners, to episode number 242, recorded on December 30th and will be airing on January 17th.
Okay, so before we hit the record button, Chris goes, I wanted to ask Mary a question, and then said, no, forget it, because Mary's going to hold me to it. And that
I didn't even get that far. I went, wait, no. And River's like, what? And I'm like, no, abort.
So Chris, what did you want to ask me?
I wanted to ask you, Mary.
Yes.
Since you put up completely unedited on YouTube, but sometimes there's a little in the beginning with button pushing and who's doing what. Do you want me to edit the video and just like take a snip off the beginning so that the opening is a little more?
You could do that. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much for volunteering.
Right? Okay, so you River, now you know why I didn't want to say everything that comes into my brain. Everything that pops into my brain doesn't have to come out my mouth. But now that'll be a thing. And maybe go ahead.
I was going to say that one of the best things about Mary and one of the worst things about Mary is if you are going to do something, she will always hold you accountable and she will never forget. So the second you offer to do something or say you're going to do something, she will be your biggest cheerleader, but man, she will also be your biggest reminder.
Yeah.
It's like if your accountability partner has like a gun and is like, oh, you said you wanted to do this, right? Right? Poke. Well, hey, maybe, because, I got to drag people under the bus with me. Maybe if Angie wants to create a video opening and closing, I can just edit those in.
Ooh.
Are you volunteering her to do that?
No, I am asking nicely because we don't have to have it. I'm asking nicely.
I love when there are things I don't have to do. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is
right. Pretty much.
Pretty much someone else's to-do list is awesome.
It's always easier. I will say one of my favorite things about being a business coach is I get to tell people to do things that I no longer have to do. So just very honestly, like, it's so nice. I'm like, on the flip side, I have done it, right? I remember the pain, but just like Mary, I'm no longer grooming. So it's just a little nice to not have to like tell the customer they're going to have to have a price increase or do any of these things or have to call that no call, no show person and have those awkward conversations. At least not anymore, right? I had in the past, and I'm very happy to now not have to do that.
Goals.
Ooh.
Yes.
I told the client to their face that their prices were going up in the new year.
Yes. So proud of you.
And it didn't have anything at all to do with that. This was the first time I groomed the dogs in their new house.
A little bit, yeah. and that's a whole nother, I love that conversation. I'm going to put that in a box and we're going to put that on a shelf. And that's another episode. That'd be a great another episode, but
yeah.
Don't get me excited. We're talking about goals, right? That's the, stay a little on topic, on topic today.
Well, okay. Here we have a topic for today because we are in the new year and this episode will actually be airing past the point where most people's New Year's resolutions have failed and gone down the tube. Because when we talk about our New Year's business resolutions, we're not talking about something that we do for a week or two. We're talking about what we're doing for our business throughout the entire year, our goals for the year and beyond.
The grooming industry, unlike so many outside of the retail industry, the standard time to reevaluate is your last quarter. Okay. But that can be really difficult for groomers and people in the retail industry to do a really good evaluation in the last quarter because everybody's a little on the nut side. You don't have that time to sit down and evaluate where other industries have that. So your evaluation of your business should start now. Holiday season is over. Things should calm down. What's worked in your business? What hasn't worked in your business? Are you dead slow right now? And why is that? Okay. The way I scheduled is that I'm mobile groomer in the Northeast. Okay. I took literally an entire month off in the wintertime, scattered, so that I had built in snow days and assumed there were going to be probably a month I couldn't work. And rather than sweat about it, that was
not like a calendar month, not like 4 weeks in a row, but added up together, there was going to be 30 days you were going to miss work.
Yeah, assume that. And that was a good time to go on vacation, someplace warm where they had beaches and somebody was bringing me a drink with an umbrella in it.
In a pineapple.
And in a pineapple too, or in a coconut.
Okay. Chef's kiss right there. That sounds wonderful. I used to always take the week off between Christmas and New Year's because I found those were the worst times. And like you said, I was also a mobile groomer in the Northeast. And again, I think if you're in those areas, you need to plan for that. And like you said, not take it too seriously because there's only so much you can do. The weather is going to create those kinds of problems that are outside of your control.
But I made that decision after my first winter as a mobile groomer, which I will tell you, it was the winter it snowed for 6 months, middle of November to the middle of April, my first winter as a mobile groomer. It snowed literally almost every other day from the middle of November to the middle of April. And I made myself insane. It was not a sustainable way to do a business. Fortunately, I was new, so I had more leeway in my schedule than I would have had a couple of years down the line. But after that winter, it was time for me to sit down, reevaluate what is working and what is not working for me. And I needed to have vacation time predominantly in the winter time. That was me.
Yeah. For me, I always picked, I always say that most people, when they have a resolution, it's more of a wish list, right? It's more of I want to want, and I don't think that's really sustainable or realistic. I like to look at life in seasons, and sometimes that season is a year, sometimes it's 5 years, sometimes it's a decade, right? What is the seasonality of your personal life and in your business, and make sure that they actually align. I'm not saying that you can't go mobile if your goal is to have 6 kids in the next, 7 years. You can, but are they really super aligned? You want to make sure that what you want in your personal life and your seasonality is aligned with your business, and make sure that your partner is online, whoever that is in your life. But especially in your business, is this a season where you're going to be increasing your pricing? Is this a season that you're going to get your payroll under control? Is this the season where you're going to get everyone on that 4-week or less maintenance schedule, right? And again, it's not so much a goal, but what is the season and what is the change that you're going to enforce and actually have the mental bandwidth to accomplish that? I think that's incredibly important, and not enough of us are talking about that. Because again, it's kind of this wish list, like, oh, I want this to happen. It's like, cool. And then what is your plan to do that? And how long are you going to accept not having that and move into it?
All right. So that brings up a really good point, the word plan.
Okay, Mary,
Okay.
hold
Yeah.
that thought, because you know what time it is. Time for our first break. I love being a house call groomer, but I hate doing laundry or worrying about asking my clients for fresh towels. Raypet has solved those problems for me with the Wet Pet disposable towel, taking up much less space than traditional cotton towels and easy to wring out and reuse. These super soft, comfy, absorbent towels eliminate any cross-contamination concerns between pets. And now their new smaller washcloth size can even help those sensitive eye areas. Great for cleaning out wrinkles gently and thoroughly. Need to keep water bowls for your clients on hand that are easy to disinfect, but hate all the room traditional clanky metal bowls take up? Or just have a very active pet? Their collapsible silicone bowl comes with an aluminum D-ring hook that can be attached to your pet's leash or anywhere else in your van for easy storage. You can get one by itself or in their handy travel kit, along with a set of 3 tick removers and 1 small wet pet towel. So stop by their website to check it out, raypet.net, and tell them the Traveling Groomer sent you.
All right. So the key word that you used was the word plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This time of year, there's a lot of classes out there. Do a vision board, right? And I don't have anything against vision boards because I've had many a vision board up on my wall. Okay. But the only problem with them is that you put them up, you don't make any plan to actually accomplish any of those things. And maybe something happened, you get one of those things and you're thinking, oh yeah, this is great. All I have to do is put it up on the wall. And you're like, no, that's not how it works. I think the only time I ever took a class that made sense was she had a section on how are you going to accomplish this. It's great. You want that house in the mountains and where you're looking over, I don't know, a lake or whatever. That's great. But how is that going to happen? What are you doing to make that happen?
I like to say that. So, like, I'm a big fan of vision boards, but not in the way that they're traditionally taught. So, I always do vision boards for my decade, right? What do I want to have in the next 5 or 10 years? These longer things. And I generally do them with things that, are these lofty goals. That way I can be aligned to them and be ready. Because again, if you're the kind of person right now where you would feel guilty, right, for having a second home, maybe in the mountains, or you can't imagine how you're going to have that little alcove by, like, on my vision board, I want, everyone knows River wants more babies. It's something everyone's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just, broken, I guess. So on my vision board, that's what I have. I have babies and I have a pregnant belly. Again, these are things that I want later, right? And they're things that I don't have the answer now, but I'm planning for it. But what I can do, maybe I can't plan for exactly how that's going to happen, but what I can do is make my business ready to support those long-term goals. So if you're going to use a vision board, make sure you say, okay, this is what I want. And then again, bring it back to, I'm going to make sure that I'm aligned to what I want long-term, right? Again, if you want a house in the mountains, right? Do you live in an area that's in the mountains? Are you going to have to move your business? Are you going to have to create more room in your business? That way you can take vacations to this mountaintop property, right? Where you can go away for a week or two, and what do you need to do that? Is that adding staff? Is that, simplifying your business? Is that creating a membership model? Like, what is that in order to get to there? And then let's shrink that down within this year. I'm sure you guys have heard me say it, I'm going to butcher it, but we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in a decade.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I like that. I like having long-term goals. Okay. And the whole season of the life. So River and I are both coaches, but we're in different places in our lives. And what River wants to do with her business, even though it's similar to mine, it's not what I want to do in mine. All right. Because I'm in a different, what's the matter, Chris?
Oh, there's something I wanted to say. There's something I have to say. I have to address in what River said, but I'll remember. So go ahead.
Okay, good. So we're in different places. We want different things, and it's okay to change your business model. All right. You did not start your business one year and now you can't ever change it. You can change it however often you want and whatever works for you. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. So River, you said something, and I have to personally attack you. You are not broken for wanting more babies. Don't talk about my friend that way. For anyone else listening, you are also not broken if you don't want or never have wanted babies. Okay? It's such a personal thing. And it's a whole nother conversation because there are people who have babies literally coming out the wazoo who never should have had one. And there are people with none who would have loved to have 10. So it's a personal choice. If you want that, if you have that nurturing, and I see you with your kid, you're a good mom. So if you want more,
Aw.
God damn it, go get them. So
Just don't pick them up off the street, you know?
No, pick them up off the street. That's fine too. I mean, ideally not if they belong to someone else, but whatever. I have been known to see an unattended child in a supermarket and go, oh, no kidnapping. They're so cute. Where's the fuck is the mama? There's no parents in sight. What the fucking people? Yoink! No. I'm not really going to do that, people. Don't freak out. Just
so I always say, like, and I do forget sometimes that your audience may not know me as intimately as the listeners of my podcast. But, if you know my backstory, I've had things go on, and my son is 12, turning 13. So I lovingly joke that if I'm smart, right, jokingly, I'm almost there. He'll be an adult and I'll have grandbabies. So it's one of those things. I agree. I think it's such a personal choice and you have to decide what you want to do. But again, that's where, as we're talking about our business, right? And again, we don't have to make this about the Savvy Groomer, but like this year and next year, I have made my business goals around preparing for these long-term personal goals. And again, that's where, Mary and I are in wildly different places in our life. We teach similar things, but always in a different voice, right? And I love that. I love that we can do similar things and do them differently and come at them from totally different seasons of life. And it's absolutely outstanding. I'm very grateful to have, I don't want to say colleagues. I think we're more than that. We're just kindred spirits. And I'm just very grateful that we can come together for this industry.
No, and I'm really, just to like right back at you type of thing. It's nice to have someone to like volley ideas off of. All right. So for my word for the year, and I usually will do a word, and for the most of the part, a lot of times they're like, yeah. And I've always thought the word collaboration was like, yeah, it's one of those kitschy, but this year it just smacked me in the head. So my word for the year is collaboration. And my business is going to revolve around that. All right. So that's part of planning for the future. So to bring it back to River, it's nice to be able to have someone to work with, okay, who is a colleague. And like I said, I consider River more than a colleague at this point too. To have somebody to like, hey, I think I want to do this. Okay. And maybe it works for me, but not for River, or maybe vice versa. Or maybe they're like, yeah, you know what? I've been thinking about doing this, but it really doesn't fit into what I want to do, but it might fit very well for her. Okay. So know who your colleagues are in the area. All right. Bounce ideas off of them and see what works for each of you. Because, like I said, there are things that River's doing that I'm going like, oh God, I am not doing that. Okay. And I'm sure River could say the same thing about some of the things I'm doing. She's like, oh no, what is she doing?
Sometimes, like, and again, Mary is like this incredible machine when it comes to like systems and planning. And again, I'm more of, I feel like this like kind of like big picture, kind of person. And Mary is like, cool, you're going to do this, and then you're going to do that, and then you're going to do that. And I'm like, man, I would not want to do a lot of things you're doing, but it's awesome because then it allows me to send my students and say, Mary's doing this. I'm not teaching this. She is, and just send her over that way. I think community is so important.
Super, super, super important. And speaking of community and continuing education, because we either were or will be, join the Andis World-Class Education Team each month for live interactive virtual classes. You'll learn new and trending styles, as well as tips and tricks from some of the best groomers in the industry. Whether you're looking for basic skills, trending styles, advanced techniques, or even just ways to spark your creativity, the new Andis Grooming Education site is your source for finding what you need to create your way for success. Try new techniques, learn from the pros, and grow your confidence today at andis.com/groomer education. Traveling Groomer Podcast listeners, hey, that's you, can get 25% off your first course today with the code VEGROOMING at checkout on andis.com/groomer education. My dog is draped across my lap.
Una
is draped across my lap, meaning her back feet are on the floor and her front half is draped across me.
And Pooh Bear is snoring away. If I put the sweater zipper down a little, you might be able to see him.
He's so cute. He just hangs out in her hoodies and like all of her sweaters. I love the fact that all three of us have a pet in our lap, like Fire's in my lap, my Himalayan. I think I can't think of anything better, man. It's just one of those things. Like, we've got our pets, we've got our people. I mean, nothing gets better than this.
All right. So, River, I know you do a lot of planning for people. Okay. So what are some suggestions that you would have for someone who's looking at their business and thinking, I'm not happy in my business the way it is right now?
Oh God. So the very short, and I've been doing a lot of this with my members. I always start with, in 5 years, what would you be really disappointed in your business if it wasn't? Right? Is that you don't have employees? Would you be disappointed if everyone wasn't on a 4-week schedule? Like, what is that thing that you would be so disappointed if you didn't have in 5 years? So I like to start at the end and work my way back. That's the way my brain works. And what I find a lot of times is that it's a lot of limiting beliefs. It's a lot of mindset. Especially right now, everyone seems really afraid of like an impending recession or money. But when we actually do the math, I had a student today, we were doing a call, and her goal is for all of her clients to be on a 4-week schedule. And we figured out that if she lost 63% of her clientele, she would make the same amount of money if they were all on a 4-week schedule at the new price point.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it was on my mind when we were talking about slow times, because how we combat the slower season is by getting our dogs on a schedule and getting them on a regular schedule. And this doesn't just have to be for mobile and house call, because it works even better for us. But I know a lot of shop groomers will set their appointments for the year so they can plan their lives and their trade show schedules and their vacations. And it's super easy to take a week or 2 weeks off between January and Christmas if everyone is on a regular set schedule. You still know they might want to push it a little closer just so the dog is so you bump a couple up to before Christmas and you have one crazy week instead of like the month of hell between actually it's a month and a half because it's between like mid-November and end of December of just absolute misery. So you get them on a schedule. And that's huge.
And for those who think you can't take the week off before Christmas, I'm going to dispel that
before or
notion.
after?
Week before Christmas. All right. My daughter graduated Emory College as a PA, and graduation was December 16th. So yeah, I was not missing that graduation, and it meant the last appointment somebody had with me to be groomed was December 12th.
And I'm gonna say something because Mary and I have very different approaches with our customers and with people. And this just goes to show that you can do things in a way that fits your personality. Mary plays things very close to the vest. Her personal life is her personal life, and it's none of your effing business usually. Thank you very much. I talk about everything with my clients. I go in there and they're like, how's your mom? I would be like, my daughter is graduating. Oh my God. So I'm going to be there. And they'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Of course you have to be there. So however your style is with your customer, you can make it work. Because do I have to tell them why I'm doing anything? Absolutely not. I am unavailable. I don't have appointments available these days.
I think one thing too, I want to point out just very gently for those of you guys that are like, oh my God, there's a huge difference between maintenance grooming, right? And then what a lot of people are doing, because if the dog, and again, I'm going to say dog, because let me tell you, cat people, the best thing I ever did mobile cat grooming was that Christmas and Thanksgiving were never a big deal. Because if you're a cat person on every 4-week schedule, they'd actually prefer it if you didn't groom them right around Christmas because the cat's crazy because it's got the Christmas tree and they're up the Christmas tree and there's garland in the house. And they're like, yeah, maybe after the cat stops zooming and climbing in the tree, please. But if the dog is getting maintained every month and it always looks good, then not everyone is jockeying for that right before Christmas. And it's just a totally different mentality. If their dog doesn't need a haircut, it always looks good. It's a totally different mentality. And I do feel like the industry completely undermines how we're doing that. You know, a lot of these, like, you know, I don't want to get like, you know, I call it groomer P, if you know what the word is, because these before and afters, they're not made for customers. We really don't want these big before and afters on social media. The reason we don't want that is because those dogs don't look maintained. If I can tell the dog, quote unquote, needed a haircut, then it wasn't maintained, right? If they always look good, you're not going to see that. It's kind of like if I get my hair done and you can't tell when I need highlights, right? We don't want Walmart blondes, right? We don't want that, like, you know, really, you know, obvious they need to get a haircut or they need to get highlights done, right? We want them to always look good. And when they do that, it's a totally different clientele. It's a totally different marketing. And those clientele are so much happier. They're better. They're just so much easier.
Mary, have I told the story? I probably have told it, but not for a very long time. When hubby and I were working at a salon, and we had this one client who was on a weekly maintenance. And I think we freaked out a potential employee, like someone else came in, you know, we're like, yeah, we could use another groomer. And they came in and those two dogs were there and running around, and they're on a weekly schedule. It was a Maltese in full coat and a little poodle. And Cam grabbed one of them to put in the tub, and she looks at and goes, you groom them before you wash them? Because the dog looked groomed. And I'm like, oh no, they're on a weekly schedule. They get, I mean, depending on the day, they either get a bath or whatever I think they need at the time. So they just always look just so. And I think it intimidated the hell out of her. And we never heard from her again. And I
You
feel so
know,
bad if you're listening and that was you. That was not our intent.
one of my clients had an Elk Hound mix, and he had a vet appointment, and then he was going to have his grooming appointment. And the story was related to me later on. The vet was like, oh, poor boy, you got groomed this morning and then you got to get to the vet. And the owners are like, well, you got the order mixed. He's not getting groomed till this afternoon. He was groomed 10 weeks ago. That's quality product.
Yeah.
That's not a Maltese. That was an Elk Hound mix. Okay. So, but the point being is being on the right schedule. Okay. Using the good products. The dog looked 10 weeks later like he had just been groomed.
Well,
So-
and Mary's going to know what I'm going to say, which is that, no matter 4 weeks, you know why? It's better for the dog. It's better for us. Dr. Cliff probably going to agree with me on that skin cycle, that hair cycle, that coat cycle.
Yeah. This was 2006.
But I feel you, right? Listen, those of us who've been grooming, so I started in 2006. So listen, I get it. Like, we're getting old, okay? Nowadays, it's a whole new book. I also remember when we were, many moons ago at PetSmart, we were told to tell people that raw diet would kill their dogs. I'm like, I'm not telling them. That's nonsense. We were told that raw diet, that was the belief. There's so many things that are so old school now. But I agree. I will say though, I agree. Like if your dog looks like it needs a bath, you're doing it wrong, right? The dog should be maintained, even if they had to skip something. That's a whole nother conversation. I agree though.
That is actually, and we can tell, I'll know by the time this airs whether or not I've done it. That's actually my plan for New Year's, because I just finally groomed my dog. Remember, Mary, I had washed him and I didn't groom him yet. No, that didn't happen again. So I finally washed and groomed my poodle. This poor beast had like 2 inches of coat on him. It took me forever. The groom he got was called, "This is good enough for going out in public. You look like a poodle." So my plan for New Year's Day, because I am that superstitious person, is give him his maintenance bath and work on him a little bit, because the groom needs some. It needs.
I'm gonna say it right now. Anyone who has and owns a dog like a standard poodle-ish type breed, you have my undying respect, because honestly and truly, if standard poodle walked up to my door and said, "Hey, I'm moving in," I'm thinking Miami is what this dog is going to be in.
I can't. I am a little bit of a fan of the Miami after. That's what I put him in right before my surgery.
Oh God. We were watching Westminster, the show. My husband's sitting next to me. We're watching the Westminster dog show on TV, and the standard poodles come out with a big
in the Continental.
And my husband says, "Oh, wow, that's so nice. We should get a standard poodle. That's a beautiful cut." And I'm thinking, so I went, I got the comb and the brush, and I showed him, this is a comb, this is a brush. You want a dog like that? That's fine. That's going to be your full-time job to maintain that dog in that coat. Good luck.
Okay. This is how different our husbands are. Same dog show, because it was a black standard, right?
Whatever it was, probably.
Okay. Same dog show. We're watching, this was not this past Thanksgiving, but the one before. Cam looks at the standard. He looks at me and he goes, "You're not going to do that to my boy, right?" My boy, the dog that he said yes to bringing in the house so that I could work on poodle trims and use him for work, all of a sudden is his boy. He likes him to look like a doodle. Oh God Almighty. It's no. All right. So we talked a little about schedule and plans, and we're going to talk more about that when we come back from our break. because I'm trying to keep us on schedule just a little bit. What if I told you you could have a year's worth of online education for less than the cost of one in-person trade show? That's right. For only $97 a month, you have access to a different 2-day educational conference with 10 hours of material taught by the best in the industry. Every month has a new theme that includes anything from grooming skills to business and everything in between. Can't catch it live or just want to rewatch it? Recordings are available for 6 weeks with closed captioning for both live and recordings with transcripts. What are you waiting for? Grab your membership today at positiveed.com. Ta-da. So, what are some other things that would be New Year's resolutions for our business? And I'm going to say not just price increasing, because that's kind of a standard, and that's where I am with it. That's because I know I need to fix my pricing. It's so much easier to tell people to fix their pricing because I've made the mistakes. And Mary, I was going to save this for a class, but did I tell you the story on air about the customer I lost during my most recent medical leave?
No, let's hear it.
Okay. So this was an every other week client, and they had a set schedule, and they had 2 dogs, and I knew they could afford more, but I am feet draggy about raising prices, and they're every other week and it's fine and whatever. So I referred them to one of my friends in a van. And by the way, I knew this was going to happen, and I knew I was out for 6, 8 weeks. I was out for like, and no, it was longer. It was a solid 2 months. I knew I was going to lose a handful. And I lost this too. And the person I referred them to was like, this is really awkward, Chris. I really don't want to do this to you. We're friends, but they asked if they prefer to stay with me. And I'm like, fine. I don't own them. That's cool. And I realized some people like the van a lot better than house call. But what stuck in the back of my head was, she charges a lot more than me. Like, not like a $5, $10 difference. She charges between $20 and $50 more than me. So it's not about the money.
It's never about the money. It's like,
And we think it is. And I'm like, that is a good lesson that I am taking with me into 2024.
I think it's not just the price increasing, it's also the structuring. Go ahead, Mary. Sorry.
Yeah. Actually, I had a thought. You were saying it's never about the money. Okay. I had a thought, and because my dog is barking over here, my other one. So continue on. It'll come back. It'll float back.
But
well,
yeah. No, you.
So, me, fine. Okay. I know. Well, I'll just all go. So I have a great, on my YouTube channel, I have a video where it was called, like, I think it's like how to lose a client over $5. I had a personal trainer that, at one point in my life, I had to recalibrate my body. And then I moved, so I had gotten a different personal trainer. And this personal trainer was cheaper, significantly cheaper, but they didn't make me feel good. Not just the way my body felt, but I didn't feel accomplished. I felt they were a little condescending. They always made me feel bad. And I think a lot of times what we don't realize is that with the money, right? A lot of the way that we as an industry treat money is, I don't want to say flawed, but money is amoral, right? Money doesn't have any morals. So if I'm on a call with a student and they say, my goal is for everyone to go on a 4-week schedule. And let's say for easy math, no one panic, but just lazy, easy math. Let's say you're going to charge $100 for a Shih Tzu for a 4-week. And I say, okay, well, if you want everyone to be on a 4-week schedule, then charge $200 for your 8-week people. Because if the client says my dog doesn't need to be groomed more than every 8 weeks, then they shouldn't have a problem with paying $200. Because if the dog really doesn't need it, then it's no big deal. If it's about the money, all of a sudden they're going to be more than happy to get their dog groomed every 4 weeks. But that's the reality, right? We undermine all these things and they're like, well, that seems unfair. And I say, why is it unfair? Because I'm going to have somebody out rotationally on that schedule. If I have someone every 4 weeks in that spot and someone who's 8 weeks, I either have to do an extra dog, right? So I have to stay late to do their dog, right? Or I have to have another person. So it creates a scenario too, where people are like, well, that seems like price gouging. I'm like, okay, tell me why. And you say, oh, it's the same amount of work. I'm like, no, it's not. Because if I have 100 clients on a 4-week schedule, that would mean that I would need to have I'd have to have 200 people on an 8-week schedule. That seems unfair to me to have to take care of double the amount of people. Remember, double the amount of client information, right? Even though I have it on my computer, I have to do so much more work. I have to keep another extra 100 people happy, right? I have to make 100 more connections with dogs. And I have to potentially reschedule a lot more people. And again, it's because we've decided that's not fair, but there's no logical basis of feeling it's not fair. We've just arbitrarily, I'm like, okay, then what's fair? They're like, oh, if it's 100, maybe 125 for 8 weeks. I'm like, okay, but why is that now fair? How did you, in the winging it, feeling out of nothing, decide that's the price point? And I think we do that so much in the industry. We kind of pull things out of our butt and decide that's fair. Or we get Facebook advice, which is generally not super helpful because it's the blind leading the blind a lot of times.
And also with Facebook advice, you have to look at where people are located. Because a rural salon in the Midwest, if I tell them my prices, they're going to tell me that I'm absolutely insane. I'm price gouging and horrible and all of this stuff. But I'm like, first of all, the 2 services I offer in suburban New Jersey are either house call or my in-home salon, which is one-on-one. And because I'm used to it, if your dog is fine, you can still stay here. You can stay and watch the entire grooming process afoot from your dog. Where can you get that?
I will push back a little bit. I'll tell you why. I think that as an industry, as we're shifting away from 50% commission and we're moving to an hourly wage based on 30%, as we're moving away from an hour a dog, the average Gen Z groomer wants to groom 4, maybe 5 small dogs in 8 hours. That means if they're going to make a livable wage, now I agree, in that, let's say, rural town in Montana, wherever, they might need less per hour, but
because their cost of living is less.
Correct. But the question is, how much is that? If it's $30, well, you need to charge $100 an hour. If they're going to be doing a Shih Tzu in an hour and a half, well, we've got a math problem. And I think as an industry, we've got a math problem because we're not willing to actually look at what we're going to do. If it's going to take me 2 hours to do a dog and you want to be paid $30 an hour, well, then that dog's got to be close to $150 to $200 because that's just the math.
I'm going to channel Mary and say, River, that's the title of a class. You've got a math problem.
Yes, I actually like that. In fact, you're doing the business summit, correct?
I have to double. So I love these guys. I'm in the middle of a transatlantic and they're like, hey, I'm like, I am on a 24-day trip. And so it was funny, after this podcast, I have to double check the dates to make sure because Rona and I in January, we're doing a 45-day trip to England. Nice. And then we're either doing Alaska or we're doing a Trans-Pacific. That would be Alaska and Japan after Tacoma. So I've got to do some math because Mary and I will be in Tacoma. So I have to do math because that is in May. So
Okay, so what I'm just saying is for that May summit, which is the 19th and the 20th of May, I believe.
That sounds right.
Okay. So
We
I'm just
just know if
thinking,
it's before or after Tacoma, so she knows if she can do it or not.
okay, so what I'm just saying is instead, I think having a workshop, there's a problem with the math would make a really great workshop, which you haven't done before. So,
Yes, I think that is a wonderful, we've got a math problem or there's a problem with the math. I think that's just the reality, personal finance is one of my personal heart projects. We're actually going to be launching something January 1st about that for my old class, Personal Finance on a Leash, because it's something near and dear to my heart. But it's also, again, if we just have to as an industry, I mean, whether you live in rural Montana or you live in New Jersey, whether you're house call or mobile, the math has to work. And I think as an industry, a lot of people, I have a student in Canada in a rural area, and she did a price increase, a massive price increase. And we normally expect with that large of a price increase that they're going to lose about 20%. Do you know how many clients she lost?
how many?
Three. And actually, it's a problem because she needed to lose clients. She needed to lose clients because she was already overbooked. And she was afraid she was going to lose like half. And I'm like, max you're going to lose is 20%. And she only lost 3. She's probably going to have to do another price increase in order to get rid of a lot of those excess clients. I think a lot of us, we can't live in two worlds. You can't say, oh, I can't charge enough to live, basically, because I live in a rural area. If you really believe that, you probably should not be offering those services in your rural area. You can't say, I can make a business with a livable wage in this rural area and also say, I can't charge enough to make a livable business. You have to pick one. So, and I think way too many people, especially with all of the migration going on, with everyone moving to these, with more remote workers, there's going to be so much. Yeah, 1000%. There's more people, and people with social media people will come from an hour away. Some people are even traveling 2 or 3 hours to groomers. So it's possible.
Okay, just to hammer down that point, I had a client. Now I was in Connecticut, moved to Virginia. Okay. And until she found a groomer that she liked in Virginia, she came back to Connecticut so I could groom her golden retriever. And we did that for about a year. So
I had a client move to Florida, but still had to travel up to Jersey for stuff because there was still business and things in Jersey. And she's like, okay, Chris, I'm going to be in New Jersey this week. What do you got? It happens. And I have lost my slowly train of being on the time. So 30 seconds, go. Hanvey engineering isn't just for mobile groomers. I have loved my Hanvey equipment for years before I even thought of getting a mobile van, and I wouldn't want to groom without my bathing beauty and hair vac. With every piece of equipment in their van and outside of it, having its own QR code linked to troubleshooting tips and fixes, these low-maintenance workhorses turn potential roadblocks into mere speed bumps. Check them out yourself at hanvey.com. So, since the topic of this was New Year's resolutions for your business, I'm going to come up with 2 things, and they're not so much a resolution, they're a challenge. Because resolutions I can blow off, but if someone dares me, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely doing that. So challenge number 1 is to run your business like a business. We're groomers. A lot of us are great at grooming and not so great at business. So there's your challenge. This is your business that you need to provide for your family. And if we're looking at other groomers online who are going on 45-day trips because they've now structured their business around that, then you go, okay, what do I need to do to achieve that? So that's the second part of the challenge is, does my business still serve me? And what do I need to do to change it to grow? And it could be, it does. It could be, it does. And you're happy with where you are, but there's certain things you just need to tweak. So yeah, that's our challenge. I've thrown the gauntlet out to all of y'all. Go,
Okay.
River. You keep unmuting yourself, and I keep talking right over you.
No, I think it's easy when there's two, but with three of us, man, we all get all excited. We're like, I just want to share. I think that's so wise. And I just want to be very clear to everyone, personal finance is something very near and dear to my heart. I've been debt free now for over 5 years. I have been very, I do a zero-based budget every month, and that to me is one of those things that's incredibly important that we're not talking about in the industry. It's something very near and dear to my heart, because when you don't have bills and you've got money, you've got an incredible level of freedom. And, my cat's name is Fire because he's a flame point, but also the FIRE movement is financially independent, retire early. For the last decade, it was my goal to be able to do what I want when I wanted. And it didn't happen overnight. It took a long time. And if that is a long-term goal of yours, then you need to decide what is it in your business that would need to change in order to do those things, right? And how do you want that to happen? And make sure it's aligned with you. Again, like you said, make sure it serves you. I hear a lot of people saying, well, I want to have a business that I don't groom. I'm like, cool. Do you like managing and growing people? No, I hate employees. Well, then that's probably not going to work out for you. If I'm going to hire this unicorn groomer who's going to magically manage it all for me. Cool. Are you going to nurture that person? No, I want them to magically show up into my life, right? Like a rom-com hero and, White Knight, and just show up. That's probably not going to, you're going to have to either grow these skills and invest in, some of these summits to grow those skills. But I think that's really important, is that you make sure that it's aligned to really what you want and not what other people told you that you should want. And now more than ever, just even if you are not going to physically be grooming, there's so many other opportunities long-term for you. And you can stay in the industry in so many different ways. And for this year, again, we overestimate what we're going to do this year, but you'd be amazed what you can do in a decade if you put your mind to it and you get focused and you really start planning.
And, one of the things I love about both you and Mary with the coaching and the summit is that you're both very supportive. Like, no, you can do this. If you want to do this, what do you want to do? Let's help you get there. And I used to be in a networking group, and they had this big event, and there was someone who was a business coach who gave out like quick half-hour sessions to get you to buy her big program. And I probably should have started doing and investing in business coaching then, so I would be further along now, but she didn't jive with me, because one of the things she said, and this is where I knew we were never going to work together, and trying to sell her program and this, she went, well, because if you can't groom, what are you going to do? Like, like trying to put fear in me, like, if something happens and I can't groom, what am I going to do? And what bust out of my mouth, 100% genuine, was, I can do anything. Like, I could do anything I set my mind to. And she didn't know how to react to that.
I don't really love, and for those of you guys that are not familiar with the coaching, not so much in the pet industry, outside the pet industry, especially in the online world, that is one of the main tactics, is basically to put the fear of God into people. And we don't play those games. I do think you need to be aware of the consequences of your decisions. I think everybody should, right? It is what it is, right? Yeah. I always say, like, it is what it is. That said, everything is figure outable, right? Yeah. Everything, no matter where you are, no matter how much, things will be more painful sometimes. It's like my kiddo. He made French onion soup and decided to use sugar instead of salt. Why? I don't know, because he's, but, we can figure it out. And that might be scratching it all and starting new, right? But it's not, everything can be figured out. Everything can be redone if you need to. It's never too late. So I don't like making people afraid. I don't think that's helpful or useful.
That doesn't work on groomers, because if you've been grooming longer than 6 months to a year, you already have in the back of your mind I could get the career-ending bite any day now. You've already heard the story of the groomer who can't groom anymore because. So we live with that. So that is not going to phase us.
Yeah, and I'm gonna the same thing with what River says about a lot of the online, I guess the mainstream online coaching world. Okay, there you can learn anything with it, but once I think that those fear tactics that go in there, which really turned me off too, because I have a coach. Well, yes, I have a current coach. Okay, and she's a new coach. Okay. Because I outgrew the last coach that I had, all right, which is fine, okay? And I had another coach before that I outgrew, and that's just kind of the way it goes, but none of them were fear-based, okay? It was, and that's kind of where I like to be too. I not want to scare people. I want to help you. What is it you want to do? Let's make this work. Yeah.
And before we take our next commercial break, our last commercial break, I want to say regarding getting clients on a schedule, my housekeeper did that to me because my husband was trying to be more concerned about money and he was trying to be more conservative. And I had just gotten the housekeeper back after the long absence and we're still getting, back in the swing of things. So he went, well, maybe she'll come every 3 weeks instead of every 2 weeks. So I asked her about pricing and I believe I said, tell me what it is again every other week. And I think she'd gone up on her prices, which is fine. And she's like, well, if it's every 3 weeks, it's going to be more because the place will be dirtier. There'll be more to clean. And I went, every 2 weeks it is, because that's what I wanted anyway.
I just want to make mention of something for those who are listening and not watching. Your sweater is almost the same color as your background, as your walls.
Oh, it is. That's a little creepy.
I thought you intentionally did that. I'm like, man, she's on brand. Like, this is perfect, right?
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm thinking she could just blend into the back of the wall there.
I look like if I go like this, am I a floating head on the black background?
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, thank goodness we don't have a green screen. That would be.
Oh, that's so true. I will say, if you want to look at examples like your housekeeper, look at the eyelash studios versus the nail salons. If you want to talk about people that get people on a regular schedule, a lot of lash studios, 1, 2, and 4 weeks, they charge differently.
Oh, yeah.
And after 4 weeks, it's considered a full set. However, if you go to a nail place and they're not that way, they might be like, if you haven't got your nails done in 6 months, it's the same price as if I get it done every week. So, and those places generally, you can walk in, they're not going to create a relationship with you, right? So it depends on what you want. And that's the thing too with us, right? If you want to be treated like that nail salon, they can walk in, they don't know your name, they're never going to learn your name, they're just going to do your nails. They might ask if you want to schedule an appointment, but they're not going to create that connection, right? We don't want to be that kind of grooming business. We really don't. Most of us here, if you're listening to this podcast, you are not the Walmart of dog groomers. You're not.
And you're
not the McDonald's.
I'm so sorry.
You know what, though? I'm actually really excited because then it's going to be all those price shoppers. We got somewhere to send them. And
That's
hopefully,
also true.
And somebody's got to be training all these new groomers because let me tell you, financially, a lot of us small business owners cannot afford to be training these people, and they should go to schools, but that's a whole nother conversation. Listen, it's going to be awesome. Be like, no problem. There's Walmart. No problem.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't think Walmart's going to be doing it it's going to be like the corporate salons with their mobiles. They're going to figure out that they just, they're already loss leading in their stores. There's no way they're going to be able to financially do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll
And there's
go.
no way they're going to be, I don't think they're going to be able to keep groomers.
No,
It's,
I don't. We had a Supercuts, and it was actually a fantastic Sam's that opened up near, which is like a Supercuts
Mhm.
opened up in my area. And we have a lot of like hair salons in my area. And I remember they were doing $15 haircuts, and the salon in the same plaza had a sign that said, "Don't worry, we fix $15 haircuts."
I saw that on a commercial. That happened in real life.
Yeah, it did. I swear to God.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that was a Staples commercial for sign printing.
Oh, really?
Really? It was
Oh my
somebody
God.
and they printed up the "We Fix $15 haircuts."
I swear to God, that's so funny,
That's
isn't it?
hysterical.
But they did. And it was one of those things that you're going to find there's always going to be someone cheaper. There's always going to be somebody, close that's going to have a more available appointment. Clients that pick you over those things are not going to stay with you long term. They're just not. And we're looking for mutual commitment and mutual loyalty long term. And I hope that's what your guys' goals this year is, to find those soulmate clients and whatever else that is, because it just makes everything else fall into place.
And we'll be back in 30 seconds. Handmade engineering isn't just for mobile groomers. I have loved my hand.
Okay, I love my
Handmade
evolution
engineering
swivel
isn't
shears,
just for
and you
mobile
even
groomers.
know that these
I have loved-
customizable shears come in non-swivel. This is the second time you did that. And the last
It's a
episode.
remix. Waka, waka, waka.
That's twice. That's twice I did that. All right. I will edit this out in the audio. This will never have happened.
Yeah, okay, but in the video it will. So
Hang on. We just got to do like the Jedi. There was never any mistakes. You did not see any mistakes.
This happened from the beginning.
We are perfect.
and you even know that these customizable shears come in non-swivel as well. But did you know that they're the only ones I've been trusting my sharpening with for around 15 years? And that's how we met? What? You haven't tried their sharpening yet? If so, send in your next batch of sharpening and you'll get one shear sharpened for free with a $75 order just for telling them where you heard about them. Your shears and blades will thank you.
Listen, there's a reason we say, if it's not Mo, just say no for sharpening. He is, he gets, they get a little extra because I completely flubbered their commercial this time. And they are some of the most wonderful people to work with.
I think that's actually a really great deal. I'm like, man, like,
yeah.
Okay, so bringing back to topic.
New Year's business resolutions. I've actually got a lot this year because I'm minorly restructuring my business because I still like doing big dogs, but doing big dogs house call is a no. But now I have this. And I found out, as much as I still love doing house calls, don't worry, guys, I still love it. But there's actually something to being home all day and being able to roll out of bed and get dressed and go into my office, and hubby will bring me breakfast and coffee that I eat while I'm grooming, and being able to, take break, and home bathroom. Oh my God, home bathroom. Whenever you want it, it's right there.
All right. So you're speaking to the choir right here, Chris. Okay.
Yeah.
So both River and I work from home too. It's pretty awesome. Okay. Yeah. So
it's delightful.
Years and years ago, I've made mention of this before. Years and years ago, I've had some really well-meaning big names in the industry tell me you can't make a living teaching. And I would say that would have been relating over to coaching as well too in the pet industry. especially if you're not a competitor, which I was not. Okay. So I'm telling you, you can absolutely make a living doing teaching, something else in the industry. I like teaching. Okay. That's my jam. All right. So River, are you making a living coaching?
Yeah, not to brag, guys, but I did not do, I think I did what, 2 live classes this year, and then I was speaking, obviously, trade shows. But these just on self-study and then my membership, we hit 6 figures.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud. And it's because of my wonderful students, and it's because we put things there. So Mary and I are neither competitors. We're not competitive groomers. I actually say my dog grooming is fairly mediocre. My cat grooming, phenomenal, fairly mediocre dog groomer. That said, I think so many people have so much to teach.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to put in the work, again, for me, Savvy Groomer has been a labor of love. It is something you need to learn how to teach. You need to learn how to eat a lot of different skills, but it's very
Yes.
doable. And I think that we need more. Like, people are like, oh, are you worried about? I'm like, no, I have my own stuff. I have my own brand. Same thing with Mary. Everyone teaches different things. I'm not worried, and I do well, and I'm just very blessed. I think that, anyway,
So-
Mary, go for it.
So the point we're making is that if you're looking to pivot in the industry or just add something to your portfolio, your resume, or whatever, it is very doable to do it. You just need to find the right person to do it. All right. On the flip side, I have sent people over to River as well too that were not a good fit for me. All right. But a much better fit for her. And part of that is personality. River and I have 2 totally different personalities. Okay. So what I find exhausting, River's like, yeah, I can help. And I'm like, oh God, not me, please.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Yes.
I'm like, Mary, you should totally make this class because I don't want to teach this. And I think this would be wonderful for my students. If you could teach this, that would be
That'd be
great.
great.
Okay. So anyway, follow your
So
dreams.
anyway, but I
Yes,
also
Chris?
wanted to say, because this episode will air hopefully with enough time to buy tickets to the New Jersey Groomers Gala, and both of you have donated door prizes. River, tell us about that fantastic package you have donated so generously, and then Mary, you can tell us about yours.
So we're always, at Savvy Groom, we're really happy to donate to the state organizations. I really think that you guys are the lifeblood, and I really honor the fact that you guys have spent so much time and energy putting that together. So I really want to honor that. I think you guys are doing so much for New Jersey. But anyway, so, what we've given is the price increase masterclass. This is a 6-module masterclass. It's over 6 hours of content. It is self-study. Non-member price, it is $1,000. So this is a $1,000 self-study class that we are donating to New Jersey. And it's one of the things that I'm really passionate about. It not just teaches you how to increase your prices, but it teaches you how to figure out how you're going to price, what makes you special. We talk about your soulmate client in this class. We talk about how to communicate that price increase and how to deal with objections. So you're going to hopefully win that, whoever you are. And when you do, please let me know because we'll give you access to it. I think that's the most important thing that we could give to that group of people. And obviously, if you're already a student and you already have that class, we are more than happy to then give you one of our other master classes on us.
Okay. So River's way more generous than I am. So what
Well,
I'm doing is,
we have a bunch of different door prizes. We have things from $1,000 masterclass and a canine dryer to some shampoos and lovely, I'm trying to remember the brand's name now and it left my head. Perfumes from my groom. So there's a range, but we've got a lot. And we have swag bags, so you're not going home empty-handed.
All right, so I'm giving a month. I'm going to make a little change to it. I'm going to give them an option. Okay. They can have both no obligation, so they don't have to fill anything out, no obligation. 1 month for positive educational training. That's the 2-day summit. So 4 weeks. Or they could get 1 month of the Create That Program membership.
Ooh.
Again, no obligation.
Ooh.
They can contact me, whoever wins it, they can contact me. They can let me know which one they want.
Nice.
And Mary, I will say this is that, I think that your, positive ed summits are incredibly priced, right? I think that there's so much value. So even though they may seem different, guys, listen, when she has a summit, you have so many different educational avenues. I mean, it's so many hours of content. I mean, I almost feel, I don't say bad because everyone has their different price points, everything. But I'm like, man, again, guys, this is why it's important. I'm like, man, how am I supposed to compete with somebody like Mary who has all this content at this price point? And I think it's just her generosity every month to everyone. And I feel a little greedy at the moment, but that's okay because we have different businesses. And it's just totally different.
One is not comparable to the other, River.
No.
It's two totally different things.
Yeah. And I will say, I'm very proud of my master classes and I'm always proud to be a part of your summits. So.
Yes. So River's going to be on the May Business Summit. She's going to confirm that afterwards.
I'm like, as long as I am not on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. I told you this year is about travel.
Yes.
And she's titling the workshop, "The Math's Gotta Work." Something's wrong with the math or something of that
Something
nature.
About math.
We've got a math problem. We've got a math problem.
Chris has spoken. So
yeah.
Yes.
Boom. We've got a math problem. So I'm very excited for this. And I also want to say, for the record, I'm saying this loudly in many places because as we're seeing these door prizes come in, FYI, we're going to not have the board members be picking the tickets because we paid for our tickets. We didn't give ourselves free tickets because we're like, we need to make budget for this and bring money into the org so we can do things. So, yeah, I'm going to say we're 100% eligible for these prizes. God damn it.
I think you should. I think, you honored it by paying the door price. And I think it's going to be a really great time. I was snooping and I'm like, man, if I was home, I'd be there.
Yep. Yeah. Because it's exciting. Just saying.
It is exciting. I'm excited for you guys. How fun, right?
And I also have, I have projects for the new year. I'm going to push myself. I'm not going to say anything about it yet because dog, what are you getting into? Oda, what are you
naughty dogs? It happens.
She found something. I don't know. I'm gonna. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. The dogs didn't get their Christmas presents yet, and one of them was a big dog bed. And she found it. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually hers. That's fair.
Yeah, she got tired of waiting for you to give it to her.
Clearly. But yeah, I'm collaborating with someone and I'm not saying anything about it yet. I'll tell you maybe afterwards. But it's got to go through testing. It's a physical thing.
Oh, I know what it is.
It's a physical thing. It's a product. It's going through testing. So.
I'm excited. And as some of you guys have already guessed for Savvy Groomer, this year is the year of travel. We're going to be away for 45 days between January and February. We're going to be away for probably a total of 6 months this year.
Ooh.
So we're going to be going to 30 countries.
Wow, that's impressive.
So, but that said, with the business, we're going to be members only. We have 200 hours on YouTube. lots of free content. We had free content for a long time. So between trade shows and other places, we're going to be going away a lot. And then we are, shameless plug here. We're teaching the virtual assistant for pet groomers. And part of that is learning how to travel and use the internet and use things like VPNs and like different eSIMs and things like that in other countries. So those of you guys that are using the VA for pet groomers, we will have an international module this year about how to travel and use things like transatlantics and things like that. So again, if you guys are trying to make goals this year, think about what you want to be doing in 5 years, right? This didn't happen magically. This took about 3 to 5 years of planning.
Yes, I remember when you were first telling me about it. That's been quite some time.
It has, and it's because it's also, right, guys, like you have to have a business. And again, if you're going to do this with a grooming salon, it's possible, but you have to be prepared for that.
Absolutely. You can't just say, and that's, I think, part of the problem with vision boards. You have to manifest, but you have to do the work. Okay. You've all heard this story, but this person who prayed to God to save them. There was a flood coming. They saved them. And they're like, no, God's going to save me. So the water's rising and the fire department comes through and they're like, come on, let's go. We're evacuating. We're going to get you out of here. No, God is going to save me. So the water's coming up higher. And they're going higher in their house, and somebody comes by in a motorboat or in a rowboat. And they're like, come on, get in. We'll get you out of here. No, God is going to save me. They're up on their top floor, and somebody comes along in a motorboat, the little outboard motor. Come on, let's go. The water's still going to get higher. Let's evacuate. God is going to save me. They get to their roof. Somebody comes in a helicopter. I'll lower down a ladder. We'll get you out of there. No, God's gonna save me. So they drown. And they get to heaven. And they big mad. And they went, I prayed and you were supposed to save me. And now I'm dead. What the HE double hockey sticks is going on? And God goes, I sent the fire department, 2 boats, and a helicopter. What more did you want?
I love that joke. That's one of my favorites. I don't know if you know that, Chris, but that is like literally that is one of my favorites because it's true, right?
There's another version dealing with praying to win the lottery. And they didn't win because but their numbers came up, but they didn't buy the ticket that week. But it's 2 versions of the same thing. So yeah, vision boards are great, but you have to do the work to get there, and you have to do the planning. Yeah. So that's my New Year's business resolution, is to start doing the planning and the work and to treat my business like a business. And I've started laying the groundwork for some of that. So
I do think if you want some unsolicited advice, you have to start it is hard. A lot of the reason you feel like your business, I don't want to say is a hobby, but because you are so connected to your clients, you are going to have to do a little bit of work there.
Oh no, that I 100%. And first of all, advice from you is never unsolicited.
Always unsolicited. River just gives her advice. It's just like, ha, here you go. Don't fun. Like it, sucks to suck. No.
So no, it's fine. It's never unsolicited. And I have already identified that as a weakness.
I think it's a strength. I think the problem becomes where you have to create that. We live in an incredibly empathetic industry. And I think we have to balance that, right? It's kind of like the person that lets their dog do everything and knock things over. You have to find that balance. And we know we do, right? We've got to find that balance. And the same thing with clients, right? And some of us have to kind of live in a nothing and life is free with our clients where we have to be very strict. I feel like Mary is very structured, which is beautiful, right? With her when she was a groomer, but for you where you're just very flexible, sometimes people will make, they're going to see where you snap. And we don't want Chris to snap.
No. And I have examples of that included in my class that I'm going to be writing this year, which is,
Boop, boop.
and what did we learn today? Mistakes I have made and how not to do them.
And that's great.
That has happened. Yeah.
I mean, I do have students that have fake bosses. They actually, their clients believe that they don't own it. They think that they just manage it and they have a fake boss.
That's fantastic. Can I steal that?
I think if that works for you, I had a client
not for me to tell people.
Oh, 1000%. I had a student that she had so much going on emotionally. We actually basically faked. I always say it's like faking her death. We faked that she sold the business and she had it bought by a male owner. And ironically, no one ever wanted to call the male owner about any problem. And it was so interesting, like, oh, he works so hard. We don't want to bother him. Meanwhile, they always asked for her to do things. The second she had a male owner, it all stopped. But for her, it was allowing to create that space and it worked really well for her. But I laughed, said you had to fake your own death to be able to stand up for yourself. And if that's the mental gymnastics we've got to do for you to emotionally be able to do that, we'll embrace it, man. Listen, is it the way I would want you to do it? No, but if this is what we've got to do,
you got to do what you got to do.
Back when I worked corporate, so I understand things may have changed since then, but if I wanted to increase prices, all I did was call this department and say, we're raising the prices. And they're like, okay. And they would put it into the system. And then customers would come in and say, prices were raised. I'm going, corporate.
What you gonna do? Big corporations.
Meanwhile, I'm the highest priced shop in the area.
But I think that's it. There is so much freedom in having a mutual villain, right? And I think we underestimate having that mutual villain, right? It's so nice to say, oh, corporate, I know, the worst, aren't they? Or, oh, my boss or the policies, right? But when you have to actually be the quote unquote villain, I know you're not really the villain for increasing your prices or whatever, but a lot of people internalize that and feel like they're the villain, right? So.
All right. So we are a little over time here, Chris, which is not surprising.
Are we shocked?
We are so shocked. So
shocked.
Which is why I made sure I ate dinner before jumping onto this podcast.
We're late here for you, Mary. Listen, we are here at 10 o'clock at night for you because we love you. So we're going to do it late at night.
Okay. I would do this earlier. I can work anytime.
10 a.m. my time? You want to do it 10 a.m.? No. Anytime?
No. My daughter.
I heard anytime.
My daughter calls me at 7 o'clock my time in the morning. All right. And I'm like, Jesse, is this someone dead or in the hospital? No, call me later.
So when I was in Europe, I was 6 hours ahead. And I thought my son was going to murder me because I would be like, hey, what are you up to? He's like, it's 4 a.m. I'm like, sorry. Oops. But what are you going to do? Oops.
All right. Okay, guys. This was awesome. And River, we love talking to you so much. A lot of our guests, we really love talking to. And because we know you, I have a harder time saying, okay, it's an hour, let's stop. Like guests we just meet, we can still, like, I'm imagining other people listening to this going, what the hell, Chris, you don't like talking to me? It's not that. It's that we know River personally outside of this, so it's
Listen, you should see it's at trade shows. We never we literally have to follow. I walk Chris to class. I'm like, here we go. We're just gonna be walking now.
We
know?
did that at Super Zoo last year. We're like, let's just walk to class talking.
River and I have shared a bed. Okay.
Yes, yes, we have. And I don't know if I'm a bed hog. Hopefully I'm not. So, and we're gonna be sharing a hotel room in Tacoma. So,
Yeah, but we'll have our own beds this time.
That would be yes. I will tell you, I'm a bed hog.
May is the Salt Lake City. I think Tacoma is in
Tacoma
March?
is April.
April.
Tacoma is April.
The Teton Show is
is
May.
Utah.
Now the Teton Show, which is now in
Teton.
May, now in Salt Lake City.
Which may
I know.
have a
That's-
renaming.
I don't know what she's going to do.
I don't know.
with it,
We'll find
but
out.
By the time this airs, the schedule should be up for that already.
Woohoo! All right. So guys, I have to find my banks again because I went all over places in my soundboard. Thank you for coming, River. Thank you for chatting with us again. And comment on the posts. Tell us what your business grooming resolutions are, not your New Year's resolutions, your business resolutions.
And I'm going to challenge you to say, what season of your business are you in? What is your goal, right? And what is the theme of 2024?
And remember, you said it in front of Mary, so now it's got to happen.
But she will keep you accountable. Listen.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us and safe travels. Well, that was fun. But now it's time to head home. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed chatting with you. If there are any topics you'd like us to discuss or guests you want to see join us on this crazy road trip of ours, let us know in the Traveling Groomers Facebook page. Don't forget to thank our sponsors. And see you next week, guys. Safe travels.